All right, story time. Okay, so this last weekend I was gone pretty much the entire week, right? I left like Wednesday and I ended up coming back late last night. That's Monday night. I went to Philadelphia to go play in the Philadelphia Flesh and Blood Battle Hardened and PTI event, and it was pretty fun. So I figured we'd talk about it. I was going to play Kano. I was pretty certain I was going to play Kano. Everybody was pretty certain I was going to play Kano. This is not like a shock. If you've seen previous videos, you know about Kano. I even posted this meme. Hold on, I'll make it so you can see it. I even posted this meme like right before. Like it's pretty obvious I was gonna play Kano, right? Um, I thought that meme was very funny, by the way. Anyway, so I show up. I get to Philadelphia like Friday, and I'm rooming with Flake. Some of you might know him, and everything contrary to what everybody expects. Friday night goes pretty well. I get a good night's sleep. I wake up on time. I get coffee in the morning. I don't forget any cards. Everything went really good. Yeah, I know. Shocking. Shocking. We get into the venue, which is in like a casino resort. And I write down my deck list. Again, no issues. Wow. Right? Write down my deck list. I turn it in. And we go ahead and we get going. There's like 140 people or something. It's like a lot of people. There's 8 rounds. And immediately I'm playing against Julian, another like Kano player, right? And I feel pretty good about this because I have tons of experience in the Kano mirror and I put a lot of work into it, a lot more than most people have. And I feel pretty good about it. I tend to win Kano mirrors a lot more than I lose them, blah, 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 blah. So let me like talk to you about that because this is going to become relevant. There's basically 2 schools of thought in how people like to play the Kano mirror because he is a combo deck, right? But the main issue is that the card Aether Wildfire, which is the main combo piece of Kano, says it does 4 damage and then you can pump it or whatever, but it does 4 damage. And then any damage it does pumps everything else that does every other card that does arcane damage for the rest of the turn, right? So obviously, when you're an all arcane damage deck, you have a lot of these. You go like Aether Wildfire, something else, and then Blazing Aether, which basically doubles the amount of arcane damage you've dealt that turn, plus the additional from Aether Wildfire. Super, super powerful stuff. Except when you're playing against another Kano, if you cast Aether Wildfire and deal damage and you try to combo them, then they can go off too. Because Aether Wildfire doesn't say all of your spells deal more damage. It just says all spells deal more damage, basically. So if you Wildfire them, their stuff is also pumped. So they can just go, in response, combo you. And that's a problem. Because since you tried to combo, you don't really have the resources and you can get reverse comboed or whatever. So the Kano mirror is a bit interesting. There's 2 ways that people like to play it. One is we're going to call it just kill them or tempo. That's how I like to play it. I like to play very efficiently. I just like to put damage in front of my opponent's face, and I basically don't ever combo them. Maybe on like the very last part of the game. But basically, I'm just tempoing people. I'm just casting my red cards. I'm dealing damage. I'm putting Tome of Fendel in my arsenal, and I'm casting it. I'm getting my energy potions out. Blah 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 blah. The other way to play the matchup is to Giga Stack them, where you pitch stack your deck to where when you get to your pitch stack, you know where the totems are and the red cards, and you can try to go off with a really, really, really big combo turn. Now, the way this matchup usually plays out is if one person's pitch stacking and the other person's playing tempo, is that the tempo person normally does enough damage to the guy pitch stacking that if they try to go off, they die. Because you're playing much more efficiently. You're able to gain life from your Tome of Fendals and push more pressure because your opponent, who's pitch stacking, has to put those things back in their deck because they need to hit them later on their big combo turn, whereas you get to just cast them. Usually because you're tempoing, you get through your deck faster as well because you get to activate Kano more because you're ahead on resources, which gets you, ironically, to your pitch stack faster than the guy who's pitch stacking. And so when I play against Julian, Julian likes to play the pitch stacking one, and I like to play the tempo one. And what I described did not happen at all. Julian was pitch stacking me and also tempoed me. It was just really weird. I couldn't get my hands to work out. He had the stuff first, and so he was able to like get through his deck faster and put more damage on and pitch stack his entire deck. And I like couldn't really do any of those. I ended up losing that game. It was a really, really good game, though. Really fun. I love playing the Kano mirror. Julian's a really good Kano player. We just are very different sides of the spectrum, which is always fun to talk about. But yeah, I start off 0-1 in the tournament. Not great. I probably need to go either 7-1 or 6-1 from the. Sorry. Yeah. I either need to go 7-0 from this point, or I need to go 6-1 and lose like the very last round. Moving on. Round 2. I play against a Kasai who's like, yo, wow, Majin, I just watched your Instant Speed podcast video about how people need to learn the Kano math if they're planning on playing a tournament. And I was like, oh, wow, so you learned all the math and everything? And he's like, yeah, no, I know all the Kano combat math. And he did know all the Kano combat math, and I was like very impressed. And he's like, yeah, it's my first tournament. Boop, boop, boop. Really excited to be here. And then he flips over Arcane Barrier 1, which basically means I have no defense. Please don't kill me. And I look at him and I was like, you watched the video? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, you got Arcane Barrier 1? And he's like, I didn't have the room. And I was like, fair. It's Kasai. It's not a good matchup no matter what you do. Just blasted him, as AB1 Kasai. Like, what are you going to do? So we're 1-1. 1-1 on the day. Moving up, round 3 is against a KO, right? KO, very popular brute right now that's doing a lot of, putting up some really good numbers, especially in like RTNs and stuff. And it's pretty good into Kano because it gets to run AB3, Arcane Barrier 3, basically for free. Which is usually about like the peak of defense against Kano that you'll see, which is annoying. And the deck can run like a lot of blues and stuff, so it's pretty decent against Kano. It has a lot of resources available to try to counter your spells, and because it has Go Again all the time, it's able to go, okay, Go Again attack that might be lethal and hold up resources. And if you start blocking it, then the deck can keep pressing, and if you don't block, they can like hold resources. So they get to kind of choose after their initial attack, which makes it very annoying to deal with. I'm playing against this KO and I'm chipping in. And I get to a spot where I'm like, all right, this is the turn. We're going to take a ton of cards main phase, right? We're going to take a ton of cards on my turn and then combo on my opponent's turn, or my opponent's going to take so much damage that it doesn't matter. I'm going to kill him anyway. So I start with Red Aether Flare. Now, Aether Flare is a card that says it deals like 3 damage, 4 after I pumped it with my staff. Deals 4 damage, and then it adds that damage, whatever damage it does, onto the next thing. This means like a huge life point swing if it hits. People have to block it. So I start Aether Flare for 4. Boom. And my opponent just looks and they're like, take 4. I'm like, and they're at like 20, right? So if they take 4, I have like blue in my hand or whatever. I might have like blue. I have more cards. I have a full hand. So if they take 4 here, they're going to take a ton of damage. They're going to take so much damage that it's going to put them down to probably single-digit life totals. And then it doesn't matter how much Arcane Barrier they have on the following turn. I'm just going to kill them, right? So this is a different card than Wildfire. Yeah, Wildfire is only on your opponent's turn, and it adds it to every spell. Aether Flare is on either turn, and it adds it to only the next spell. So hit him with the Flare, and I'm like, ooh, yes. Boom, Kano. Any spell gets 4 damage add. It's Energy Potion. Okay, well, never mind. I play Energy Potion. That's fine. I know I have an Energy Potion. I'm down a resource, but it's okay. We're going to Kano again. See what we see, right? Yeah, I think my hand was like Aether Flare, blue, yellow, or something like that. Kano again. It's Tome of Fendal. Gas. I get to draw 2 cards. Pitch my yellow. Boom. Cast it. Draw 2 cards. Red. So now I can't even activate Kano again, and I'm stuck with 2 red cards in my hand that I don't want because I want to be comboing my opponent. And also, I don't get any extra damage from my Aether Flare turn. So I just had like this huge turn, basically just go and turn into like nothing. It turned into 4 damage and an Energy Potion, which is not what we want to see. But it's okay, right? Because our opponent's at like 20. They might even be a little bit lower than that. And I have Wildfire. Boom. In the arsenal. I draw blue, 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 blazing. Let's go. Right. Let's go. My opponent starts swinging. And I start blasting. Storm Striders. Aether Wildfire for 6. Coming on in, right? I banish a card. It's like a blue 0 or deal 1. Doesn't really matter. It's going to work for the combo purposes. My opponent's dead. You know, they AB 3, and then they won't have enough to like, they won't be able to Arcane Barrier enough to stop my combo. Wildfire for 6. Opponent sits there and thinks for a second, flips up their arsenal card. It's Oasis Respite, which is a 1 mana prevent 4 damage from target source, including spells, and it's basically just a Kano hit card. That people really shouldn't be playing in KO, but you know, it worked out from this time. So instead of taking like 3 damage and all my stuff getting buffed, my opponent takes 0 damage and I lose the game. So starting off 1-2, not ideal. Not exactly how we wanted things to go, right? I'm feeling kind of poopy. I'm like, man, is Kano even like good? Right? This sucks. Play another round. Sorry, I'm going to be struggling to remember exactly what was which round, but I play round 4. We get a win. I think it may have been against another Kasai or something. Get there. Play round 5. I believe it was against a Vincent, which you don't see very often. Now, Vincent's scary because Vincent has access to Arcane Barrier 3, because of the chess piece and also the second, the offhand equipment, and also Spell Void 4 from the arms if they want it, and the head, or they could run Arcane Barrier 4 and Spell Void 2. So they're just like super. They got lots of defenses. They got defenses if they tap out. They got defenses if they have resources, and it's very spooky. They also have stuff that like disrupts your arsenal. They have stuff with really scary on hits, all that kind of stuff. But every single time I play against Vincent, it goes kind of like this. I go, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, and then they die. I'm always like so scared the entire time because what they're doing seems so good, and then they lose. Because Vincent has this one ability that brings her back down to earth. Basically, at the very beginning of every turn, Vincent has to banish one of her cards from hand. If it's like a Runeblade card, she makes a rune chant, I believe. Now she's got a cool mechanic where if she has rune chants equal to the amount of cost of a card with Rune Gate, they get to cast that card for free. And Vincent's obviously very much built around this mechanic. So she gets to do some stuff for free, and it's really spooky. You're like, oh my God, this is so much damage. But if you ever put enough damage in her face on your turn that she has to like pitch things, then on her turn, she just has to banish a card and then can't really do anything. And so I'm always like so scared, and then one turn, I have a good turn, take a bunch of cards, and then they end up dying. It happens every time. So I end up winning after being like very scared. We're 3-2 at this point. We have 3 more rounds left in this battle hardened. 8 rounds because it is a lot of people. I'm trying to think of what I play next. I believe it's a Dromai or something. Which goes pretty well. I'm going to talk about Dromai for a second because that's also going to like come up. But Dromai versus Kano is a bit interesting because Dromai plays all reds, like literally, like 60 red cards basically, maybe like 57, right? And red cards don't give you very many resources. They give you 1 resource. And the way you have to block Kano cards is by pitching resources, right? So obviously, it should be a super good matchup for Kano. Well, hold on a second, because Dromai has dragons, which are allies that go onto the board, and they stay there until you attack them. They also have what's called Phantasm, and this is their big weakness, where if you block them with an attack that has 6 or more power, it pops, because it's just an illusion. It just goes away, right? And then their turn ends, because they don't get go again. The dragon goes poof, and it's over. That's their big weakness. Except Kano doesn't run any attacks, which is kind of awkward. So all these dragons they play never go away. And Dromai has an ability that says if you cast a red card, all of your dragons have go again. So every single turn, all of the dragons get to attack you, and you can never really get rid of them. You have some spells that can shoot any target, but it's like really awkward. And then also, Dromai has a card called Themi, which is a dragon that says your opponent cannot cast spells or activate abilities on your turn. Which, if you know what Kano does at all, is like his whole shtick is that he does some damage, and then on your turn, he tries to combo you. If Themi hits the board, you just can't do that unless you kill Themi. Unfortunately, all of Kano's cards don't say deal 4 to any target. They say deal 4 to target hero or whatever. So I can't point it at the dragon. So we have to board in some bad cards that say like deal 3 to anything. That way we can maybe try to shoot Themi. And also, Dromai has access to Sand Cover, which is just a 0 mana prevent the next 4 damage, which is a pain in the ass when you're trying to combo them, right? So it's just a really flippy matchup where it's just like both the Dromai players think they're super favored and the Kano players think they're super favored. So it's really awkward. Obviously, as a Kano player, I would much rather be on the Kano side. I think the Kanos are favored. But, that's what a Kano player would say. The Dromai players would say the opposite. So play against a Dromai, and it goes pretty well for me. I just get to do my combo on like turn 2 or 3, which is what you're trying to do. You have to race to the combo because the dragons are going to kill you very fast. And I end up getting there. So far, after the first couple rounds, the day's been going, it's been going pretty good, right? We're like 4-2, 2 more rounds left. Unfortunately, dead for top 8, it's looking like. Because we took our losses so early, and that's how Flesh and Blood tiebreakers work. It's like the last round loss is your tiebreaker. So if I'd have gone like loss, 6 wins, loss, I might make it into top 8, right? But since I went loss, win, loss, even if I go win, 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 probably not going to make it into top 8. But I'm still playing for some prizes. There's like prize tickets at like top 24 and down. So, still gonna keep on keeping on. I'm honestly not sure what I play against in round 7. I'm going to be completely honest with you, but I did win that game. So yay. Hooray for us. Round 8, I play against Levia. Now, Levia is weird because it has only Arcane Barrier 1, but it has Spell Void 4, which means it gets to completely blank your first combo piece. So the trick with the matchup is that you want to go first and push a bunch of damage because they can only block 1 of each instance with Arcane Barrier 1, and they don't want to give up their Spell Void. And then you try to present as much damage as you can on your own turn because they can't block it very well. And then your hope is to get them to sack the pieces early and then combo them. Or get them low enough to where even when they stack the pieces to stop your combo, it's not enough, right? And that's kind of what happens. I just have a really big turn on my own turn. My opponent isn't able to stop enough damage, and then even when I combo, the Spell Void is not enough, and they die. The flip side of the matchup is if they find Blood Rush spells in like the first turn or 2, they could usually put a lot of damage on you and then fill up their graveyard for their banishing effects, which is very important to them. So we take it down. We end up 6-2 at the Battle Hardened. Not too bad. There was like 1 or 2 6-2s that made it into top 8. I was not one of them. I was way down the list, but it was enough for a couple prize tickets, and I was pretty happy with the day. I was feeling really bad in the beginning when we were like 1-2. I was feeling really down on like my deck and everything. I was like, oh, maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it. Maybe I should have been working on something else. But then after the rest of the day went by, it was just more of what I expected, which felt very, very nice. Went out to dinner. Went to Yard House. We went to Yard House Friday night, and it was like medium fine. You know how there's restaurants that they're just kind of always just okay. Yard House is one of those for me. It's always like a 7 out of 10, which is pretty decent, but you're paying like kind of expensive prices for it to just be like kind of medium. And so we got to Yard House, and I order a burger, and I'm just starving. I'm just like dying of hunger. And so I'm like, okay, I want like a burger and fries, the normal stuff, and give me a Moscow Mule or whatever. So I'm like, okay, but I definitely don't want cheese. And the guy says, oh, if you don't want cheese, assuming I'm lactose intolerant, do you also want the garlic aioli? And I'm like, oh, I do want a little bit, right? And he's like, oh, don't worry, I'll put it on the side. I'm like, great, perfect. Because otherwise the burger's going to be like way too dry, right, if there's nothing on it. The food comes, and I pick up this burger, and I just like destroy it. I don't put it down, right? Like I have two hands on the burger until it is gone because I'm so hungry. However, about 3 bites in, I realize it's not really that good, but I like can't figure out why. But it's really dry. And so I finished the burger and I'm like, man, that was not a great burger. It was really dry. And Flake looks over to me and he's like, hey, they never gave you your garlic aioli. And I was so upset because I ate this whole burger without the thing that would have made the burger really good because I just like was too hungry to think about it. This is a stupid tangent, but like this was really important to me in the moment, okay? I was very upset that my burger was like mediocre because the waiter forgot the garlic aioli on the side and I was just so hungry and I wasn't going to like ask for more food or whatever. Anyway, not important. We get back to the hotel. I'm just going to run the same list back for the PTI event. Basically, Battle Hardens kind of have like two Battle Hardens. It's like a Battle Hardened and then a smaller Battle Hardened on Sunday called a PTI event. In a Battle Hardened, both the finalists get a PTI, which is a Pro Tour invite. You can take them and use them to qualify you for any Flesh and Blood event, period. Nationals, Pro Tour, Worlds, any of them. You can also sell them, which is neat. It's really cool. So you want to get PTIs, right? They're kind of hard to get. Top 2 to Battle Hardened is difficult. It's like 140 people, and a lot of the grinders are going to be there, right? Brody Spurlock, Michael Fang are going to be at every Battle Hardened, basically. So it's kind of difficult. PTI is a lot like a Battle Hardened, except only first gets a PTI. Battle Hardens also has cash prizes. PTI events don't. It's like, it's basically a Battle Hardened at home, is what it feels like. So PTI event is on the next day. I'm just going to run the same list back. I was happy with how it ended up finishing. So yeah, we're just going to run it again. I do some thinking about matchups and stuff, maybe try to change a couple plans, blah, 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 blah. But we're at the hotel. It's like 8:30 and I'm exhausted. So I just like lay down and rest my eyes for a little bit, right? And then apparently I just fall asleep. And I know this because I wake up at 11:30, which is an issue because now I can't go back to sleep. So I got 3 hours of sleep and I'm just laying there in bed. You know what this is like, where you're just laying there like looking at the ceiling. Like, please just fall back asleep. Please, dear God. You keep like looking at the time and the time keeps like slowly moving and you're just not asleep, but you're too tired to like do anything, right? So eventually at like 1:30, I'm just kind of over it. I keep looking at the time, 1:30. Roll back over. Look at the time, 1:40. Roll back over. Look at the time, 1:50. Roll back over. And I'm doing that thing. You know this thing where you're like, I have to wake up at 8 o'clock, right? I got to be out of bed at 8 o'clock, out of bed and moving. If I fall asleep right now, I could still get 6 hours of sleep. You know the thing. We've all done the thing. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, I got to be up at like 7:30. So if I fall asleep right now, it's 1:50. If I fall asleep right now, I still get like 5.5 hours of sleep, which is totally fine. Now I'm like really tired. So 5.5 plus the 3 I got is like 8.5. But honestly, that's not enough to like make up for how tired I was. I'm like, okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. I can make that work. So I roll over, look back, 1:55. Roll over, still can't fall asleep. Look back, 1:59. And I'm just looking at this clock, and it's 1:59, and I'm still looking at it. And as it ticks up to 2, it skips 2 o'clock. And it goes to 3 o'clock. Because it's daylight savings time. So all of a sudden, I just automatically lose another hour of sleep that I was really counting on. I'm like, oh my God, man, fuck this. So I like get up, I splash some water on my face, and I find that sometimes if I really can't sleep, I have to go do something and then come back to bed. So what I do is I have these like sour gummy worms candy, right? So I go and I grab my sour gummy worms and I grab my Kindle and I go back and I'm like laying in bed and I'm trying to be quiet because Flake's in the other bed and he's asleep. And I'm like just reading. I'm reading like Rendezvous with Rama. So I'm reading like sci-fi, right? And like reading And then every now and then I reach over and it's like crinkle, crinkle, crinkle as I like dig my hand in my sour gummy worms. I'm reading, just trying to like get tired enough to fall asleep. And at like 4:30 in the morning, Flake wakes up, rolls over, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because he just hears like the crinkle, crinkle, crinkle of my like candy bag, and then sees the glow of my Kindle, and I'm like, "I can't go to sleep. I'm reading a book." And he's like, "Whatever, man." He rolls over and he goes back to sleep. I finally like fall asleep at like 5:30 in the morning, right? So I wake up at like 7:30. Maybe a little later than 7:30. I get going. I get everything going. We go to the event. I barely make it on time. I don't think I wake up at 7:30. I think I wake up later, actually. But yeah, we drive to the event. I barely make it on time. I'm like rushing to like pen out my deck list, right? I'm just like trying to do it from memory and everything. Barely get it turned in on time. I'm like finishing the last lines as everyone's getting seated. You know, so like my opponent's like sat down waiting for me at a table over there, and I'm still like, I gotta get my blues. Oh my God. But I finish in time. I sit down, I hand it to the judge, and we start playing. And who do you know? My first round opponent is the same Levia player that I beat at the very end of day 2. Unfortunately for my opponent, things go well for me again, and we're blasting. I have a really cool turn and end up getting him. We start out 1-0. I'm feeling real frazzled from the lack of sleep, lack of food, lack of time to get everything ready, but we're 1-0. That's pretty good. Round 2, Matt Rogers on Kasai. That's pretty neat. So Matt, I got 5th in that TFT game. That's insane. So Matt Rogers playing Kasai, very good player. However, horrendous matchup for Kasai, very good matchup for Kano. He flips over Arcane Barrier 3, which is not usually what you expect to see from Kasai. He's playing a very blue-heavy version, right? And he has 3 copies of Take It on the Chin, which is like 0 mana, prevent the next 2, make an agility token. Now, this matchup, even with Arcane Barrier 2, is still very good for Kano. Except, things aren't really going my way. Everything's kind of going unfortunate. It's that time where you, like, draw all the red cards, but then every time you activate Kano, it's all the blue cards. And then on the turn I need to block, I have 3 of my 5 potions in hand that don't block, but I also need to play the potions to get over the AB3 and to take it on the chins. But I can't just play one and then like keep the other 2 and then play another one because I'll take so much damage as they take my action point. It's just like everything's super awkward. But I engineer a spot where I bluff having lethal to get all the resources out of his hand. And he's going to draw a card. With draw card on the stack, I'm going to get all the resources out of his hand. So he's going to be able to swing for 2, and I'm at 2. And I'll be able to block with my Tunic, go to 1, and then finish the job later with my opponent at like 3, right? So that's what I do. Now he's going to draw a card. And the thing with Kasai is most of the cards that say go again, give a sword, go again, are 1 mana. And the deck doesn't actually run that many pumps that don't cost mana. So, because my opponent has 1 card and no resources, it's unlikely that he'll be able to kill me. Swings in for 2. I block with my Tunic, and he plays a blue 0 attack warrior action card that says, give the next sword go again. Oh no, it's a go again card. That means I'm going to die to the second sword. But wait, it's not an attack reaction. He played it in the wrong order. He needs to go attack reaction sword, or attack action sword. Sorry, not attack action. Sword, sword. Instead of sword, attack action, sword. Because that's not how the game works. He fucked it up. But he's like, hey, can I take that back? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. So he kills me. I'm not gonna be like that. It's a PTI event, not the finals of the Pro Tour. So yeah, he has to take it back. I let him and I die. Whatever, right? So I'm 1-1. I lost like my best matchup, which is kind of unfortunate. It was, my hands were like so bad that at the end, even my opponent, who like non-Kano players don't really know whether or not your hands were good or bad, right? It's like that's just like a thing. But he looked at me and he's like, "Your hands sucked." And I'm like, "Yeah, nope, they're really bad." So he ends up moving on. I'm 1-1. I can't drop another one basically. Maybe if I lose the very last round, the 6th round, I'll still make top 8, but I can't lose anything till then. We gotta like, right, bring it on in. Round 3. Sorry, I got to try to keep things in order. Round 3, I play against a Dromai, and I end up doing the thing, and I get there. Round 4, I play against a Dromai, a buddy actually, and I end up getting there. I'm doing the thing. I'm trying to remember like specific things that happened from the rounds, but I can't because my mind was so fried. Sorry about that, but yeah, you know, good games. They were good games. It just ends up kind of working out for me. And again, like I said, I'd much rather be on the Kano side than the Dromai side. So all of a sudden, we battled it back, right? We're 3-1. We're 3-1. There's 2 more rounds to go. Is it 7 rounds? It may have been 7 rounds. I don't remember. And I play against Brody Spurlock. Brody Spurlock on Azalea. Now this is spooky because Brody Spurlock's really, really good player. And Azalea can be very scary. They're able to dominate their arrows, which means that since I don't have any armor, I'm basically just taking a ton of damage, and they have a lot of on-hits that I can't really prevent. The big on-hit is what's called inertia. Now, inertia means that at the end of your turn, so like if I get hit with an inertia token, at the end of my turn, all cards in my hand and arsenal go on the bottom of my deck. Anything left over. It basically puts you in a use it or lose it scenario, which sucks because Kano wants to put a card in his arsenal for safekeeping that's a combo piece, and then later use it to combo, right? So I have one. I went first. I played like a potion or something. I don't even know. Maybe sent some damage, and I arsenaled my Aether Wildfire. Brody hits me with the inertia token, and I'm gonna lose it. And I don't even get to use it, which sucks. So I'm a little bit worried. But as the game keeps going, he ends up tapping a little bit low to try to push lethal, and I'm able to get the combo and kill him with some really cool stuff. I think I like Storm Strider to Gaze the Ages or something, which was really neat to end up like opting for enough stuff. It was really fun, really, really good game, and I end up taking it down. Which brings us to the second to last round. I may have the order mixed up, and if I do, I'm sorry. I'm playing against a Victor, which is very good for me. Victor's an incredible matchup for Kano. I'm not going to say it's like 90-10, but it's like really close to that. It's really, really, really hard for Victor to beat you because Victor is very good at blocking attacks, and he doesn't present a lot of damage. Now, the unfortunate thing about Kano for Victor players is he has no attacks. So all your really, really nice block cards don't do anything. And since you don't present any damage, Kano is able to build up to his combo, right? And that's basically what happens. Our game's over in like 4 or 5 minutes. I chip in some damage. He taps out to try to present damage. I have the combo. He dies. He was a really nice guy. And then immediately after I kill him, we start packing up. And to add injury to insult, not only did this guy roll into his worst matchup and get get KO'd on, I knock over my energy drink all over his stuff. Just all over everything. His playmat, right? Just everywhere. So I'm like, oh shit. I sprint to the bathroom. I get a bunch of paper towels that are dry. I get some paper towels and I wet those and I come back and I'm like, here's some wet ones. Here's some dry ones. I'll go get more. Right? I'm like running back. I felt, I can't even explain to you guys how bad I felt that this guy who's still live for top 8 rolls into his worst matchup, gets absolutely KO'd on, and then I fucking spill my stuff all over his things. It's so terrible. It makes me feel like I like beat somebody and then push them. Right? And then kick the chair out from underneath him. I felt so terrible. So he was very nice. He was like, no, it's all good. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I have one more round. One more round. Now at this point, I'll likely still make it even if I lose to top 8, which is nice. But I'm playing for seeding. Because how it works in Flesh and Blood is in top 8, the higher seed player gets to pick who goes first or second, which could be very valuable in a lot of matchups. You want to be the one dictating who goes first or second. And I'm playing against a buddy, fellow Kano enjoyer, and I'm dropping my water bottle. Fellow Kano enjoyer. I don't actually know if he wants me to use his real name. So it's Judge Dredd, I believe, on Twitter. All right. Now, we've been talking this whole weekend, and it's kind of nice that we get to play the mirror, especially when it shouldn't knock either of us out. We should both be in top 8. We play. I end up getting the game, but it's pretty close, which puts me at 6-1 going into top 8, which is awesome. He also makes top 8, which is great. So the final top 8 is 2 Kanos, 1 KO, 1 Reinar, 2 Dromais, and 1 Kasai. Is that the right number? 2 Kanos, 1 Kasai, 2 Dromais, KO, Reinar. There's one other thing. I can't remember what it is. But those are the decks. Azuri? Was there an Azuri in top 8? I don't think so. It's not relevant. I'm sorry if you're the person whose deck I forgot. Anyway, so top 8, I'm playing against Dromai, right? Now, again, I feel pretty good into Dromai. I get to pick that I go first. All good, all good. I deal like 5 damage on turn 1. Awesome. I arsenal my combo piece or whatever, and it's my opponent's turn. And my opponent goes turn 1, Themai. Bang. The dragon that says, you cannot, your opponent cannot cast spells or activate abilities during your turn. And I'm like, oh my God. And I look at my hand and it can't combo. And I look at my hand and it can't kill Themai. I'm like, all right, whatever. We'll just do what we can. And then on a following turn, we'll try to find something that kills Themai. Right? I got like basically 6 cards that let me kill Themai. Aether Dart Red and Lessons in Lava that let me find Aether Dart Red. My opponent arsenals, does some stuff. I deal some damage back. Put my opponent to like 26, right? Or something like that. And then I look at my hand. Okay. We got Spindle and a bunch of blues. Sure. Maybe we can Spindle into an Aether Dart. And we can kill the dragon. Except my opponent casts like Tome of Imperial Flame. And then the last second one was Azalea. Thank you. Yeah, it was an Azalea. I remember. They're playing right next to me. The other Kano played him. My opponent casts Tome of Imperial Flame. Does some stuff. Pushes a bunch of damage. Puts some dragons on board. Second Themai. I'm like, oh my God. Not like this. Because now I'm locked out, basically. I can never cast stuff on my opponent's turn again. So I have to kill my opponent on my own turn, which is going to be really difficult. Also, my opponent at this point has accumulated 2 Aether Ashwings. So they have AB2. Arcane Barrier 2. Oh, this is going to be tough because Aether Wildfire only pumps other spells if it's on your opponent's turn. And that's what's in my arsenal. And I never get to do anything on my opponent's turn ever again. So I go to my turn and I'm like, all right, we got to make this work. So I cast Aether Spindle for 5 and it opts X, where X is the amount of damage dealt. My opponent takes 5. They go down to 18 or so. I could probably reverse engineer the math, but I'm not going to right now. And I'm like, hell yeah. So I opt 5 and I'm looking. I'm looking for like tomes or anything like that to keep drawing, to keep doing stuff. And I don't find them. I find like a bunch of blues and then a Sonic Boom. And I'm like, okay, Sonic Boom's pretty good. So I put Sonic Boom on top, and I activate Kano with a blue or whatever, right? I have like an energy potion out, I think. Activate Kano again, banish Sonic Boom. I cast Sonic Boom, pitching Eye of Ophidia, which lets me opt 2, because I need to find something that the Sonic Boom hits into. Because Sonic Boom, if it hits, you flip the top card. If it's a spell, you can cast it, basically, right? And you can cast it usually for free. So I opt and I find Lessons in Lava. Oh, all right. Now we're doing something, right? Now we're doing something. So I put the Lessons in Lava back on top and I cast a Sonic Boom. And I have like 6 total resources left or something. And my opponent sand covers from Arsenal, which prevents the next 4. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Because I need this to hit. I need this to hit so it flips the Sonic Boom. So it flips the Lessons in Lava and cast. Because I need to go get Blazing Aether, which deals as much arcane damage as you've already dealt. Again, right?
It's over 9,000.
And it is over 9,000. So this is tough. So what I do is I Storm Striders the Aether Wildfire from my arsenal on my own turn to eat the sand cover. Lets the Sonic Boom hit, flip Lessons in Lava. I go and get Blazing Aether. I sack my potions and use my like extra mana or whatever for my tunic. And I Blazing Aether. And it puts my opponent to 3. Now, it's my opponent's turn. I'm at like 15. I need 2 things to happen. 1, I need to draw a card that does 5 damage after pumping with my spell, my staff, because my opponent has Arcane Barrier 2. And so they can prevent 2. So I need 5 to get over the 2 and make it 3, right? And then the second thing is I need to not die. So I draw up, and there's Aether Wildfire again. It does 4 with the staff. It does 5. It's perfect. And I have 3 blues. It's my opponent's turn. They start attacking me with their Themai army. I do a little bit of blocking, right? I go down to like 2. It's my turn. My opponent draws up. Now, here's the thing. If there's a sand cover or a sigil, which gains life, I lose the game. Put Aether Wildfire for 5 on the stack. I cross my fingers. I look. My opponent moves to pitch and concedes. Exactsies. We get there under the double Themai lock. Crazy game. Absolutely insane game. And we move on to the semifinals, which is against a combo Rhinar deck, which you don't see very often. Berserk Rhinar. Now, what Rhinar does, Rhinar has this cool mechanic. I say cool, but in reality, I mean, I hate it so much. Rhinar has this mechanic called Intimidate, which basically says if you discard a card with 6 or more power, Intimidate, and your opponent shuffles their hand, and then you roll a die, and one of those cards at random gets banished, and it goes back to you at the end of this turn. So basically, it takes away your blocking resources, which some decks care about. But you know what decks really care about not having their cards in hand? Combo decks that are looking to go off on your opponent's turn, right? So it like getting intimidated screws you as a Kano deck because you need all your cards to combo them, right? And so I'm a little bit worried. But my opponent's playing Berserk Rhinar, which is like a much more combo heavy deck, where it basically says if you discard a card, you banish it instead, and then you flip the top card, and if it has 6 or more power, you draw it. Okay, so they're looking to do one really, really big combo turn. My opponent's taking a ton of damage. I have them down to like 14, right? I have Aether Wildfire in my arsenal. We're in a really good spot. Now, there's a spot where my opponent's attacking, and I can either try to go off then and there. I have blue, Aether Spindle. Aether Wildfire in my arsenal. I could try to go off there, but my opponent has a card in hand. And if it's like a blue, I don't get there. I don't do enough damage. If I draw red off my Ragamuffin's hat, I don't deal enough damage. And if I don't find Blazing Aether on my Spindle, I don't do enough damage. So I think about it, and my hand's like Energy Potion, blue block 3, Spindle. Oh, sorry. Oh my God, I'm getting mixed up. Wind it back a little bit. My opponent's still at like 14, 15. I put them down to 14, 15, and I go, okay, time to combo them. And I draw up. They keep 5 cards, and I'm like, don't care, I'm going to combo you. And I draw my 4 cards, and it's red, yellow, which means it's impossible for me to combo them, which sucks so bad. Because if it was like blue, red, easy. I can make that work, right? But it's red, yellow. Literally impossible to combo my opponent. I am at their mercy. He starts off playing Berserk, and then he starts discarding stuff and just really just goes off. So I block as much as I can. I block with like the 2 cards left in my hand, and my opponent still presents like a ton of damage. I end up going down to like 2 or something, or 1. Really, 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 really low. It was like such an insane turn. I highly recommend you go to the Savage Feats YouTube channel and watch the game, the semifinals game. Super, super, super cool game. And that's when I draw blue, blue, blue spindle. My opponent attacks just weapon. And I go, okay, here are my options here. I can let this resolve. And if it hits one of the blue block 3s, I lose the 50-50. And I just play Energy Potion. If it hits Energy Potion or Aether Spindle, I get to red Aether Spindle on my turn. And my opponent's basically guaranteed dead on the following turn. I lose the 50-50. I have to block with the spindle. And I just play the Energy Potion out. Ship it on back. And I draw a pretty decent hand. My opponent starts the turn. I do the combo. And just like barely get there. It was pretty spooky. Pretty spooky game. But I end up taking it down. Again, very good game. Highly recommend you go watch it on stream. And that puts me to the finals against Mr. Judge Dredd on Kano. So it's the Kano mirror in the finals, which is awesome. Unless you're on Twitter, then it's the worst thing on the planet. Because people hate Kano. But I think it's awesome. And it starts off phenomenally for me. Absolutely phenomenally. I get an Energy Potion down almost immediately. And things are going really well. Keeping the life total at parity. And then I have a weird hand where I end up like, I draw 2 Energy Potions. So on one turn, I play an Energy Potion and I arsenal another Energy Potion. Because you really, 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 really want to get all your Energy Potions out as fast as possible. It's very important. Because then your opponent can't combo you when you're resource light. So I have Energy Potion in hand, play 1, put 1 in arsenal. And then my next hand is Energy Potion, Nourishing Emptiness. Now, Nourishing Emptiness is like the best card in the mirror. But then my other hand is like, it's like Energy Potion, Nourishing Emptiness, red, red. So my opponent starts sending spells and stuff, and I start trying to like block them, but I can't pitch this Energy Potion, and it's my only blue. And I really don't want to lose Energy Potion or Nourishing Emptiness because they're so important. So I end up taking a ton of damage to play the Energy Potion from Arsenal, put Nourishing Emptiness in Arsenal, hold the other Energy Potion. Again, kind of red heavy. I think I just like play another Energy Potion or whatever. So I have 3 out to my opponent's 0, which is such an insane spot. I can come back from like a huge life deficit and it doesn't even matter here. Except for the next like 4 or 5 turns, I draw like 3 reds in every hand, which is bad for 2 reasons. 1, I don't have the resources to both defend and attack. I barely have the resources to do either of them. It's really, really bad. And the other reason is that it means the reds, I'm much less likely to draw reds later in the game when I do want them. So you don't want like a glut of reds and then a glut of blues. You want like red, blue, blue, yellow or something, right? In like all your hands. But I'm getting super, super, super red heavy. My opponent's starting to catch up a little bit. I hit with Nourishing Emptiness. That means I get to draw 5 cards, 4 reds, 1 blue. Fucking dope, right? So I'm just trying to like keep my tempo advantage with these Energy Potions, and it's not quite working. But we get to a turn where I finally have a good turn that I want to keep. My opponent blind Kanos, a good hand I want to keep. My opponent blind Kanos, and it's red Aether Flare, which I have to fully block out because they still have cards left. So Aether Flare, I block it with my blue. Blind Kanos again, boom, another Aether Flare. Play it, I have to block it, right? So I lose my great hand. And the next few hands, if I remember correctly, are just 4 blues. And then the things I Kano into are just like blues. It's really bad. So I end up going down tremendous. My opponent's at like 18 after gaining a bunch of life off Tone of Fendal. I'm at like single digit life total. I'm at like 5 or 6. My opponent decides now is the time to go off. I'm going to combo this man. So that's what he does. He starts going off. And I do my best to mitigate damage. Because my hand is like blue, 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 blue. I think I did like a Tome of Fendal thing where I ended up drawing 2. No, I didn't. I can't remember. But I had like just a ton of blues. And I was able to mitigate just enough damage. Mostly because he hit a blue 1 cost instead of like a spell that did more damage off the top. I was able to mitigate just enough damage to live at like 3. My opponent has 0 cards, 0 energy potions on their own turn. I draw up. I have like blue, blue, red, red, and it's just enough for me to get there. I do make a mistake, and Ethnic Smoke pointed this out. I hastily go, my opponent's at 13, so I go Aether Wildfire, Nodes, and then do like Ragamuffins or whatever, and then play Voltic Bolt or Swell Tidings or whatever, so it does 5. Without the Nodes, it's 13, and my opponent is dead. I activated the Nodes, and I did not have the resource for it. So that's my bad. That one's on me. I'm sorry. It didn't matter, but like I messed up. I was just so, I think, flustered from the previous turn was the big go off turn. I was still so tired and drained, but I ended up having just enough for exactly lethal to kill my opponent, and I win the PTI event. I take it down, which gives me another Pro Tour invite, which is great because I'm spending one for Pro Tour Los Angeles. The next Pro Tour is in Amsterdam, and I absolutely want to go. And then this one secures me a spot at Worlds, even if I can't get another PTI. Whew, sorry, I just punched the mic. I didn't mean it. Oh, felt good. Felt really, really good. Yeah, it was just nice. It was just nice. Like, I love playing Kano, obviously, and it felt so good to have like 2 events just go pretty good. Obviously, I didn't top 8 the Battle Hardened, but I still think it went very well. 6 and 2, I was happy with it. And then to take down the PTI event felt very, very, very good. Yeah, I was really happy about it. I go to sleep, get some ramen with flake or whatever. Had out the next day. No big issues there. Nothing really went wrong on the flight back. It was really nice. Yeah, so less things went wrong in this one than normal, but I won the event, and it was great. I don't even get Living Legend points because it's not even a rated event. So, like, my elo doesn't go up, and I don't get Living Legends points. Kind of unfortunate. But, yeah, now it's time to practice for the Pro Tour, which is in 2 weeks. It is not this coming Friday, Saturday, but it is the next one. Oh, PTI events give 4 LL points. Let's go. I'm on the board. Yeah, so look forward to that story time. I probably won't be able to stream much during that event because I'll be at the Pro Tour, but probably going to play Kano. I know, super surprise. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. I'll see you next time.